When you want to achieve the highest goal of all time, you are going to have to learn how to get your ass kicked all the way up that damn mountain. And then when you get up the mountain, the oxygen up there is very thin. It's hard to breathe. So it's not a lot of fun up there either. So all the way, if you want to be successful, you got the bottom that sucks, the middle is extremely hard, and the top, it sucks worse than all of it.
I knew I wanted to live a difficult life. I craved a difficult circumstance.
What?
I don't know, but I think you just know it sometimes when you're a kid. I don't want to do anything easy. And that's why when I found stand-up and I became that thing, I was so gratified and comfortable. You know how much difficulty is the right amount for you. Too much is not good, not enough is not good. There's a range that we all seek as humans.
But you'll push it.
Every day when you get out of bed, life's standing right there to kick you in the fucking face, man. Could be anything. Could be you get up and you walk downstairs, you got a fucking flat tire and you're late for work and you got this and that. Life is gonna throw all kinds of crazy shit at you, right? And you have to be ready for it and you gotta fucking deal with it. You can't curl up into a ball, you can't run away from it, you can't hide. You have to take all this shit head on. You have to get up every day when I get up out of bed, I strap up and I'm getting ready for war.
It's so easy to be successful nowadays because people are weak.
Yeah.
Everybody's weak. It is so easy. If you are even a weekend savage, you will run these kids over. And for every single person, it's giving me chills again, for every single person that likes to castigate the very padded victimhood mentality of the modern world, okay, cool. Like you can rail against people that say that the world is against them even though it's not, and etc., etc. Become successful in whatever domain I choose to. The bar is set so low. Be the person that your mum thinks you are, or the person that your younger self wanted as a role model. Brave, courageous, earnest, honest, virtuous, like on fire.
And you should be facing adversity.
You should be.
You should be facing adversity in the midst of change.
It shouldn't be easy.
Should be earned. Should be earned.
Should be earned.
Because that means you put your time in. And that means that this is how greatness is created, when you show up to create when you don't feel like it. When you sit with yourself and not allow your mind to go to the past and all the problems and all the things and instruct your mind to go to that vision of the future, that's a victory.
I looked in this one guy's eyes who was ringing the bell to quit, to put his helmet down out of Navy SEAL training, and I saw myself. And I saw what everybody said I was gonna be, which was nothing. What I said I was gonna be, that conversation you have, that's who I was. This is when I realized I was alone on this earth. I have God alone on this earth, and I have to fix everything.
It won't be easy. It will be hard because life is hard. That's what life is. And these challenges that you face, they're gonna do their best to take you down. Do not let them. Stand up, dig in. Line up those problems and confront them, face them, fight them. Do not let them bring you down.
What the do you expect? You're not putting in the work. You have to do more. You gotta stop telling yourself that you're doing enough. In life, it's never enough until you feel this overwhelming feeling of shit, man. I'm outworking the crowd. I'm outworking everybody. I'm doing more. It's not until then, once you get there, that's when you know you've done enough. Stay hard.
Can I deal with the fact that this is painful for me? And the answer is, the fact that it is painful is the reason that it's working.
Yeah.
That if it wasn't you stepping out, everybody else that has to try and step out into this new life faces this same thing too. Every single person does. That's why most people don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, this is what hard feels like, and this is why most people don't win. So continuing to push through and almost seeing that level of discomfort as a signal, it's like a way marker that's been planted in the ground. Yes, more this way.
Everybody's afraid of failure. It's embarrassing as shit. So how do you think I became successful when I failed every day of my life until I succeeded, which took a long time? The first thing I did was, all of you in this room want to be successful as hell. But the journey to success comes with a lot of what? Failure. So why the don't you teach yourself, like I taught myself, is how to fail?
You had to make different choices, and the hardest part about change is not making the same choices the day before, and that means you're going to get uncomfortable. You stop doing the same things, the same habits, sitting on the couch, whatever it was. You didn't have time to complain, you know, that stuff.
The fastest growth periods are often the most miserable. If you want progress, get used to pain. The worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. The hardest you've ever worked is the hardest you've ever worked. Every new challenge shows you a new territory you were scared of but survived. Every time you break a new limit, you now know you have the capacity to handle more than you ever did before.
It's hard. Easy is not an option. It's hard living. Life is hard.
Whenever I get to a low point where I think, why do I even bother? I just remind myself, this is where most people stop, and this is why they don't win. Building a business is hard. Hard feels shitty. This is what hard feels like, and this is why most people can't do it, but you can. This is what hard feels like.
But I try to reframe that pain that comes from doing the things that I don't want to do the things that I do want to do, as the price tag required to become the person that I want to become.
Quote from the ancient Greeks that says, live as though all your ancestors were living again through you.
We discovered that when you're sitting with yourself and you go past the point where you would normally stop because of your disbelief, you go past that point, that's when the brain changes the most. That's when you're stepping into the unknown.
What does that moment look like for people? Like, what is that?
That moment looks like I want to quit. That moment looks like I want to give up. That's the end of their emotional belief. But if you show up to be a creator in spite of those voices, in spite of the mismanagement of your attention and energy and not having enough time, or feeling, something happened in your day and it caused you to not want to create, the days that you show up anyway, and you remember that's the belief in your future.
Most people need to shut the fuck up and focus on that version of themselves they want to become and actually be willing to become it. And that's what's ultimately going to create the fulfillment that you're looking for. It's not going to be your cold plunge. It's not going to be your morning routine. It's going to be the work that you fucking do to become that version of yourself that is the exact version that you know you're supposed to become, and then being proud of it. That's what's going to create the fulfillment that you're searching for. And all of this other shit is just Band-Aid shit to try and fix something that you know is a real problem in yourself.
I have to do more, and I have to do better, I have to be better, I have to work harder, I have to take myself to the limits and further, because now that's my standard.
Struggle doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It usually means you're on a real one, right? Struggle doesn't mean you're making a mistake. Struggle could mean that you have a lot to learn to get to this goal. If you have something you really value, don't change what you value, change the path to get there. Pain isn't proof of misalignment. It's proof you're growing. It's proof it matters. And ultimately, it reveals to you whether it matters enough.
Because I knew that if I was afraid of failure, I would have never been able to be a Navy SEAL. I would have never been able to get to where I'm at today. So I went through, and I literally at 300 pounds, or 297 to be exact, I sat back and I visualized how this journey is going to look. In the first several months was nothing but failure. So how am I going to get up the next morning when I failed the day before? How am I going to eat this meal when I failed and I got fries and a milkshake again when I was supposed to get grilled chicken and rice? So I went through and I taught myself how to fail. And when you do that, you're able to get up extremely fast, and you no longer care about the end result, because you know, if I want to be way up here, it's gonna take a bunch of small micro failures along the way. But you have to understand that that is part of the process.
So if you wanted to create a new personal reality, a new life, you would have to change your personality. And the first step in that is becoming conscious of your unconscious thoughts, those thoughts that say, I can't, it's too hard, I'll never change, it's my ex's fault, it's a, whatever,
It's all the ex.
Or if you really truly wanted to be a happy person, you would have to stop complaining. You would have to stop blaming, you'd have to stop allowing your environment to control how you're feeling and thinking. And if you truly wanted to become a new personality, you would have to decide that the emotion of lack cannot belong in an abundant person. Oh, this is where the rubber hits the road now.
If it's hard, good. It means no one else will do it.
It's about gaining control of your mind, putting things back in the proper perspective, and then saying, I really do want to be here. And I'm going to have a bunch of these 1 seconds through this 130-hour journey. And I have to learn to control these, because if I fail one of these 1 seconds, I will not be a SEAL. I will not be a doctor. I will not be a lawyer. I will not be whatever the fuck it is. So that's how important that 1 second decision is. It's all about your mind takes control of you. You have to say, fuck you, I run this mother.
The world really only knows the actions that you take. It doesn't know about the internal state until that then shows up in the way that you actually perform. So, yeah, some things to keep in mind. Number one, don't grip life so tightly. Being too serious creates a kind of brittle fragility, which a playful attitude insulates you against. Your goal is dynamic persistence over the long term. And taking things seriously gives you a huge advantage in bursts, but chronic seriousness makes you rigid and at risk of blow up.
If I'm running on a treadmill and I get to mile 9 and I get complete cramp in one of my legs, and I know I've told myself I'm going to run 10 kilometers today, he goes, I will have to limp the last mile, even if no one's watching, because I can't let the demons in. And if I let the demons in, they'll show up in the 11th round of a championship fight when there's 50,000 people watching me in the audience, and I know deep in my self-story that I'm the type of person that quits when things get hard.
You ask God to give you patience, right? But then he gives you a challenging situation for you to show patience, and you complain that, it's a hard time in life. Well, you ask God to teach you something. It's supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be challenging.
So the process of change in the meditative model requires unlearning and relearning. Requires breaking the habit of the old self and reinventing a new self. What we say in neuroscience, pruning synaptic connections and sprouting new connections. Unfiring and unwiring and refiring and rewiring. Unmemorizing emotions that are stored in the body and then reconditioning the body to a new mind and to a new emotion. No longer signaling the same genes in the same way, but signaling new genes in new ways. Beginning to pull your energy out of the past and beginning to invest your energy into the future.
Fellas, you'll not get there if you quit, if you just say, forget it. I can't be the man that I wanted to be. Well, of course you're not right now. You will not be the man that you want to be until you grow into it. You have to grow into it.
Well, if you want patience, then you're not going to get things quickly. If you want to have endurance, it's like you have to be able to tolerate suffering, right? If you want to be wise, it's like you're going to have to get burned. My ultimate, long-term goal is just to become the person that the best version of me, right? And I think that in order for that to happen, I will have to go through pain. And so the follow your passion, moniker also creates this emotionality that gets you to quit when you really are on the right path. And this is just part of it.
We need to get stronger. We need to get ballsier. We need to get tougher. We need to not be afraid of failure. We got to go into the work. We got to face adversity. Adversity breeds character. There's strength and fighting and resistance. It does not only make the muscle grow, but it makes also your head grow, makes you a stronger person. We have to be willing to go through hardship, through suffering, through pain, through crying periods, all of that stuff. Don't shy away from any of that, because it just makes you stronger.
The more wishes you have, the more difficult it becomes. The more ambitious you are, the more you will have to face.
you'd have to change your personality, which means you'd have to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change it. You'd have to become aware of your unconscious habits and behaviors and even what you say and modify them. And then you'd have to look at those emotions that keep you anchored to the past and decide if those emotions belong in your future. So most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. We literally have to become someone else.
A blade does not become strong. It does not become tempered until it's been through the fire. Until it's been through the fire several times. And this is just your first or second time through the fire. And there's a lot of hammer work that has to take place.
A lot of people, man, how do you do what you do? At the end of the day, I ask myself one question: can I take one more step? And usually the answer is yes. So if you can answer that question and not take another step, that is real failure. That is real quitting.
This suffering is literally what's going to make me great, and it's going to bring me that amazing moment on stage and all these memories of everything, and this, like, it's pushing me to these limits that I know make me feel proud of myself. If you want to be exceptional, what you're doing right now is average or even below average. And if you want to continue to be average or below average your whole life, then continue doing this. But you need to make a serious change and start doing hard shit and letting go of the easy shit, the comfortable, pleasurable shit. Abstain from that to make a better version of yourself.
What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really didn't know what to do for a few months. I felt that I had let the previous generation of entrepreneurs down, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. I met with David Packard and Bob Noyce and tried to apologize for screwing up so badly. I was a very public failure, and I even thought about running away from the valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I'd been rejected, but I was still in love. And so I decided to start over.
For me, it always comes back to perseverance, persistence, high pain tolerance, an ability to suffer through discomfort, a welcoming of doing hard things, and willingness, really. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to do different? How willing are you? Are you willing to make this your number one priority? And a lot of people will put words to that, but only time will tell whether those words are followed up by the action that demonstrates the level of willingness that is required to actualize anything of meaning in this world.
And then life is going to pull you out, and it's going to put you on the anvil, and it's going to hammer on you some more. And you're going to say, what, am I done yet? Am I a sword for the ages? No. No, you're not. You're not done yet.
I wanted to hit obstacles that most people up, including myself, but I didn't waver. I didn't fear. I didn't run away. I just stayed and marinated in the fear, in the suffering. And through that, building Goggins, I will become Goggins when necessary.
Not over till I win. Not over till I get through. It's not over till I get over. Not over till I get what I want.
And I remember that was one of the things, like, you're not going to break me. No matter what you say, I'll die right here in this water. I don't care. And that mindset has really been beneficial throughout the entire process. Because there's parts of BUD/S and parts of being in special operations where you think it's going to kill you. And then at a certain point, you just don't care. If it kills me, I don't care. And you get through it.
This will be the story that I will one day tell. And that means the harder it is, the bigger the dragon, the more epic the story, and by consequence, the more epic the hero. And if you think about the difference between winners and losers, winners define themselves by what they made happen, and losers define themselves by what happened to them.
You have to believe on some level that you can hit it, and you also have to believe even more that you will die trying. And I think that your commitment has to be to the effort that you're willing to put forth, and completely divorced of the outcome.
Taking full accountability for your life with all of the deficiencies that you have may be the most painful thing that you do when you look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is my fault. But in saying this is my fault, those are also the first 2 steps of progress, because it's my fault, not anyone else's, which means it's my responsibility and my action that can change that. And I think that marrying short-term pain with long-term progress is one of the first connections that most people who are on that path have to make.
I will have to limp the last mile, even if no one's watching, because I can't let the demons in. And if I let the demons in, they'll show up in the 11th round of a championship fight when there's 50,000 people watching me in the audience. And I know deep in my self-story that I'm the type of person that quits when things get hard because I got off that treadmill at mile 9 when no one was watching.
Victims see their past as their fate. Champions see their past as their origin story. And so a lot of people are living through their origin story right now, or they're living through the very reason that they'll never be successful, but it could be the exact same situation. And the only difference between either character is the actions they choose to take.